this guy has 4 arms, does this technically mean he has 4 armpits? Hello everyone, Primes Prime, back at it again for another Transformers Age of the Primes video, and today we're taking a look at Deluxe Class Quintis Prime! So yeah, we're looking at another one of the 13 Primes, Quintis, and here's some artwork here on the packaging, window showcasing the figure, more of that artwork here on the side, and then some more stuff right here. It says Quintis Prime, got some promo images and such we'll be covering throughout the review. Authentic Transformers! And that is pretty much it for Quintis Prime's packaging. And then Quintis here only includes one accessory, which is this magic space rock.
Actually, it's called the Ember Stone.
So what's cool is Quintis Prime has this little, like, cockpit area back here that you could open up, and this is where you can then insert the Ember Stone, and you can just collapse that up, and that fills in that nice little gem right there in his chest. Some very intuitive accessory storage for this guy. And here's now taking a look at the head sculpt on Quintis Prime. I am quite happy with the fact that Hasbro decided to go with Quintis Prime's look from the Covenant of Primus here, rather than the Transformers Earthspark. I'm not the biggest fan of Transformers Earthspark's design. I much prefer this more kind of alien-esque, kind of sinewy squid face. And I like how he's got the 6 eyes, which are light-piped, with some nice light piping on all 6 eyes. And overall, this guy's got just some really nice paint apps all throughout, consistently with some nice shades of greens, with some nice metallics and matte finish, with little highlights of purple here and there. And of course, he's also got a nice healthy amount of this gray plastic as well, especially here on the sculpting for these tentacles right here, and on his fists right there. Again, very nice mechanical detail on all of these Primes figures. Really love how those came out. And the clear plastic in his eyes and his chest also goes down to the legs as well, or I guess lack thereof. Technically, under this hip skirt, he does have actual legs. But as you can see, they're made up of this transparent plastic, and they have these, like, they have sculpted in details to kind of signify that they're actually just, like, multiple tentacles just strung together to form legs. And so if you think of, and again, the fact that they're transparent also kind of indicates that this guy technically isn't supposed to have any actual legs. He's literally just a torso with a bunch of tentacles floating down on the bottom. This guy really is quite the Squid Man, basically.
Would you please stop leaving your undergarments on my front lawn?
Actually, funny enough, speaking of SpongeBob, did you know that the voice actor in Transformers Earthspark for Quintis Prime is Clancy Brown, who in fact is the voice of Mr. Krabs?
What the barnacles?
All I'm saying is, I really love the detail here on this guy, and I just love the fade from the matte finish down to the transparent here on the tentacles with the hip skirts, and there's just great mechanical and like tentacle detail all going on down here. Like I said, same goes down here on the legs as well. And just overall, this guy is pretty clean, and again, some nice clean back, no kibble or anything, except for these giant elbow bits right here. But honestly, it's really nothing to complain about. I'm pretty happy with the way how this guy turned out. And the hip skirts here actually don't bother me as much as I thought so, especially when considering the articulation. So Quintis here has a ball joint at the top of the head and one at the base of the neck. So it allows him to have some nice head pivoting here and there. It also allows him to swivel from left to right. It's a little tight.
That's what she said.
He can't do a full 360 because he has this like collar in the way that really gets in the way of his head articulation. But again, thankfully with those double ball joints, it gives him a lot of expressiveness even despite that. Shoulders rotate a full 360. They can move up and down, and they can move up even further. He does get a bicep swivel, 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. The wrists are also on a swivel as well, which is again nice for a deluxe class. These tentacles have one hinge joint right here, and they can swivel and rotate, and when you rotate them, they can go forward and back. So very nice articulation on those. And with these tentacle arms, since they do have the little 5mm port right there, he can just hold just regular Transformers accessories in these as well. It's not the only thing that I want this tentacle to grab. The hip skirts can move out to the side. They also are split here at the front and move out. He also has one big one just here at the back. His legs can move back, they can move forward, they can move out to the side. He does get a knee swivel, 90 degrees of bend at those knees. Ankles can move down and, not really up. And he gets insane amounts of ankle pivot on that leg. With all these tentacles and everything, he might as well be the prime of hentai.
Huh? He's actually the prime of life, you idiot!
Yeah, pretty good articulation on this guy, and these hip skirts actually don't bother me that much as I thought they would. That was my biggest worry with this figure. It might still be a bother for some people, but I feel like this flows a whole lot better than Solus Prime and other previous Primes who had the whole hip skirt thing going on. Speaking of those previous Primes, here are all of the previous ones that I have reviewed so far from Age of the Primes compared with Quintis. As you can see, Quintis is actually the bigger one of the deluxes, and he's also, kind of reaching into that Voyager scaling, but again, he is a little bit smaller than I was hoping he was going to be, but it's not that big a deal. It's just a big deal when just comparing him to some of the other Primes, at least in my opinion. And then here is Quintis compared next to the Quintesson leader from Earthrise. If you think about it, this guy does have 4 sets of robotic arms, and he's done in a green and yellowish color scheme. Anyway, with all of that now out of the way, let's now get into Quintis Prime's quick and very simple transformation. And yeah, here is taking a look at Quintis Prime's alternate mode here, which is obviously supposed to be some kind of a spaceship or whatever. I mean, it does have a little it does have a little canopy right there, but again, it also does look like a squid because it kind of has like the head of a squid right here, and it's got the tentacles. Like, you can kind of tell they were going for kind of like a beast machine. Oh wait. Overall, I like the painting on it. It's got some nice painted and sculpted details, some highlights of those purple and a lot of the green. Mechanical detail looks really good. I like the transparent plastic here as well. And again, these tentacles just kind of sit right there. And then these ones right here are just literally exactly how they were in the robot mode, and it's honestly not that much of a difference. The legs just scrunch up like this, but honestly, it barely really does anything for the actual transformation other than just hiding the feet a little bit better with just his toes just kind of sticking out. But I mean, when you turn the thing over, it literally is just Quintis Prime just doing a funny pose. Super! Also, I can't put my finger on it. There's just something about this design that just looks a little weird. Am I the only one? I don't know what it is. Just for some reason, it just looks a little off. You know what I'm saying? But again, the fact that it's a vehicle is more apparent, especially when it has the cockpit right here that you can just open up. And it's got the space rock in there piloting the thing.
Actually...
I swear to Primus. But I will admit, it does look the most convincing as a vehicle when you get it on a stand, not included, sadly. And now getting into the alt mode comparisons, here is Quintis Prime compared next to all of the 13 Primes I have so far. And again, like I said, he is actually quite a big vehicle. He extends out really long and, looks really well done. I really like the way how this figure came out, especially with his alternate mode. Again, it kind of adds a little bit of length and detail to him that I really appreciate. And then finally, here is Quintis Prime compared next to the... What? What the fuck? It's no wonder Quintis Prime was disappointed when he created the Quintessons. And that is basically it for my review on the Transformers Age of the Primes Deluxe Class Quintis Prime. I'm actually really pleased with this figure. I was really worried about this guy in the initial promo images and all the prototypes and everything leading up to this guy's release, and honestly, he's not as bad as I thought he was going to be. I was really worried about the hip skirt thing because I had a problem with that with Soulless Prime and a couple other guys, and so I'm just really glad to see that I actually don't, I'm not as disappointed with this figure as I thought I was going to be. Don't get me wrong, there are a few things that are a little questionable about this figure. I mean, like, again, he barely has that much of a transformation, and B, he's also, just a very simplistic figure with very simple details and yada yada yada. But overall, I actually don't hate the figure. Again, the hip skirts don't bother me as much. They actually work well with the legs. I think it's also due to the fact that they're not actually legs. They're transparent. They're kind of meant to be more like, beams of energy with tentacles that kind of form legs, but it's whatever. It's all part of the whole, fantasy aesthetic of this particular figure. It works into his design. And so again, I can cut this guy some slack, especially on, I did the same thing with Soulless and the other primes, because again, these aren't based on anything in particular from media. Technically, Hasbro did have to go in, and the designers had to completely make up this entire alternate mode. And so overall, I say the same thing about the robot mode as well. I'm just really glad that they went for, the Covenant of Primus look over the Earthspark look. I much prefer it. But overall, that is pretty much it for this video. Also, and again, really simple accessory, doesn't really need much else than that. So if I had to give this guy a rating, I give him a fairly solid 8 out of 10. I might be being a little bit generous. Some people might not like this guy. Some people might like this guy more than me. It's just, for me personally, I give him an 8 out of 10. So that's it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, give me a like on the video, comment below what you guys think, subscribe to the channel for more Transformers and action figure content, and leave a comment, hit the bell. What are some other, typical YouTuber lines that I've missed?